Watch me say no and make him cry. That's what my girlfriend told her friend about my proposal plans. She invited everyone, including her gym buddy, to see me get embarrassed. So I turned the tables, and she was the one who ended up in tears. My name is Ethan, I am 29, and I work in IT support for a mid-sized logistics company. I live in a busy part of Columbus, and my weeks are pretty routine: office by day, gym after, groceries on Sunday. I am not a big drama person, and I usually handle problems by writing things down and fixing them one by one. My girlfriend is Kara. She is 27, and we have been together a little over 2 years. We do not live together, but we spend most nights at my place, and we share a lot of day-to-day stuff like cooking, laundry, and splitting costs when we travel. For most of the relationship, Kara has been intense in a way I thought was confidence. She is loud, blunt, and competitive about everything, even small things like who picked the better restaurant. Sometimes it was fun, sometimes it was exhausting, and I kept telling myself it was just her personality. I had been planning to propose this spring. Nothing flashy, just a small get-together with her friends and my sister at a brewery we like. Then I would ask her outside by the river walk. I did not want a public spectacle, but Kara kept hinting she wanted an audience, so I compromised. I booked the space. I talked to her best friend Mia about getting people there. I even asked Kara what kind of ring she liked, and she sent me links like it was a work order. Last week I got home early because my manager let me leave after we finished a big rollout. Kara was not expecting me. Her car was outside, and I could hear voices through my apartment door. I assumed she had Mia over, which was normal, so I came in quietly like I usually do when she is on the phone. They were in my kitchen. Kara had her back to the hallway, and Mia was facing it. Mia saw me and froze. Kara did not notice. She was leaning on the counter in gym clothes, sipping from my water bottle like she owned it. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. Watch me say no and make him cry. She said it like it was a joke she had already told a few times. Mia did this nervous laugh, the kind you do when you are not sure if you should be laughing. Kara kept going, talking fast, excited, like she was planning a party. She said she wanted everyone there. She said it would be hilarious. She even mentioned inviting a guy from her gym who she swore was just a friend, the one she texts at night when she thinks I am asleep. I stood there long enough to hear my own proposal described like a show where I was the punchline. Then I stepped back into the hallway, quiet again, because I needed a second to think without either of them seeing my face. I did not storm into the kitchen. I did not confront her right then. I walked back down the hallway, stepped outside my building, and sat in my car for about 15 minutes. I needed to make sure I had heard what I thought I heard, and not some out-of-context joke. I replayed it carefully. Watch me say no and make him cry. Not I might say no. Not I am not ready. It was framed as a performance, and the part that stuck with me was how energized she sounded. Like she was organizing entertainment. When I went back upstairs, I made enough noise with my keys so they would know I was home. Kara came out smiling, kissed me on the cheek, asked why I was early. Mia would not look at me. I said my manager let us off early. I acted normal. I am good at that when I need to be. Kara asked if I still wanted to do the brewery thing next month. That caught my attention. I said yes, unless something had changed. She smirked and said nothing had changed. She just wanted to make sure I was still planning something special. That word special felt different after what I heard. That night she fell asleep quickly. I stayed awake and went through everything logically. First, I was sure she believed I was going to propose. I had not said it directly, but it was obvious. Second, she had enough detail to tell Mia where and roughly when. That meant she had either guessed correctly or gone through my messages. Third, she specifically mentioned inviting her gym buddy, Aaron. I have never liked the dynamic between them. She calls him competitive and fun. He comments on her posts constantly. I did not want to accuse her of anything without proof. So I checked something simple. I logged into the brewery booking portal. The reservation confirmation email was marked as read from earlier that week. I had not opened it since booking. Kara knows my laptop password because I never thought I needed to hide it. That meant she had seen the date and time. The next morning I tested something small. I told her I might need to move the event to a different weekend because of work. She immediately pushed back and said that weekend was perfect and I should not change it. Too quick. Too firm. Like she had already built something around that specific day. At that point I was not confused anymore. I was being set up. And the only question left was whether I would walk into it or change the script entirely. I am not someone who enjoys revenge. I prefer clean exits. But this was different because she was not quietly unsure about marrying me. She was organizing a public humiliation and calling it entertainment. If I simply canceled the proposal and broke up with her privately, she would spin it. She would say I got scared or that I overreacted to a joke. And the people she invited would never know what the plan actually was. So I decided on one principle. I would not embarrass her with lies. I would only use the truth. First, I confirmed the guest list. I texted Mia separately and asked who Kara was planning to invite. I framed it like I wanted to make sure everyone important to her was included. Mia hesitated in her replies, but she named the usual group and then mentioned Aaron. She added a laughing emoji and said Kara thought it would be iconic. Iconic. That word told me this was about attention, not uncertainty. Second, I adjusted the plan. I kept the brewery booking. I kept the date she was so protective of. But I called the manager and asked if I could use the small side room instead of the open patio. I said it was for a private announcement. He agreed. I also asked if I could connect my laptop to their TV screen for a short slideshow. He said yes as long as it was appropriate. I started compiling screenshots. Not of private messages between Kara and me. I was not interested in airing our relationship details. I saved the confirmation email she opened. I saved a screenshot of her text to Aaron where she said you better not miss this. I had access because she once logged into her Instagram on my tablet and never logged out. I know that sounds invasive, but I did not dig for months of history. I only looked at the weeks surrounding the event she was orchestrating. I also recorded a short voice memo the next time she joked in front of me about how funny public proposals were when they went wrong. She did not know I hit record. She said imagine if someone said no in front of everyone. That would be brutal, but kind of amazing. By the end of the week, I was not angry anymore. I was calm. I had clarity. She wanted a show. I decided I would give her one. Just not the one she expected. The week leading up to the brewery event felt strange. Kara was in a noticeably good mood. Not affectionate in a warm way, but charged. She kept making comments about how excited she was for everyone to get together. She even bought a new dress and made sure to tell me it was something memorable. That word stuck with me. I did not confront her. I treated her normally. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, went to the gym. If she noticed any shift in me, she did not say it. A few times she casually asked if I was nervous about the upcoming night. I told her I was focused on logistics. That answer seemed to disappoint her a little. I think she wanted to see me anxious. 2 days before the event, I confirmed the tech setup with the brewery again. I brought my laptop in early and tested the screen connection. The manager showed me how to switch inputs quickly. I kept the slideshow simple. No dramatic music. No long speeches typed out. Just timestamps, screenshots, and a final slide with a short statement. I also made one more adjustment. I removed the ring from my desk drawer and returned it. I had purchased it from a local jeweler, and because it had not been resized yet, they allowed the return within 30 days. I did not tell anyone. That was not a dramatic gesture. It was practical. There was no reason to keep a symbol for something that was not happening. The day of the event, Kara insisted on riding separately because she wanted to arrive with Mia. She said it would make the surprise more authentic. That confirmed everything. She wanted to watch me walk into what she believed was my own trap. I arrived early, greeted the guests as they trickled in. A few of them hugged me and said they were excited. I watched their faces carefully. None of them looked like they were expecting cruelty. They looked like they were expecting romance, which told me Kara had not told everyone the full version of her plan. Aaron showed up 10 minutes later. He shook my hand with a grin that felt performative. Kara walked in behind him, laughing too loudly at something he said. She kissed me on the cheek and whispered, "Do not chicken out." I smiled at her and told her I would not. And for the first time all week, that was completely true. Once everyone had a drink, I stood up and thanked them for coming. I kept my tone steady and casual. I said I appreciated them taking time out of their Saturday. Kara was watching me closely, almost vibrating with anticipation. She reached for Aaron's arm at one point and squeezed it like she was bracing for impact. I said I had planned something important for tonight. A few people cheered. Someone pulled out a phone to record. Kara covered her mouth in what looked like fake nerves. If I had not known better, I might have believed she was genuinely overwhelmed. Instead of getting down on one knee, I walked over to the TV and connected my laptop. I said before I move forward, I want to make sure everyone here understands the full picture. There was some confused laughter. Kara's smile faltered just slightly. The first slide was simple. A screenshot of my brewery reservation confirmation. Date and time clearly visible. I said I booked this weeks ago because I thought tonight would mark the start of something permanent. The second slide showed that the confirmation email had been opened from my device earlier that week while I was at work. I explained calmly that I had not accessed it, which meant someone else had. A few people shifted in their seats. Kara crossed her arms. The third slide was a screenshot of Kara's message to Aaron. You better not miss this. It is going to be hilarious. I did not editorialize. I just read it exactly as written. There was a noticeable silence now. No more cheering. No more phones raised high. Then I played the short audio clip from my phone. Her voice, clear enough. Imagine if someone said no in front of everyone. That would be brutal, but kind of amazing. Kara stood up and said I was being dramatic. She tried to laugh it off. She said it was sarcasm and that I was twisting things. I let her speak for about 10 seconds. Then I said the one sentence I had practiced. You told your friend you wanted to watch me say no and make him cry. The room went completely still. And for the first time that night, she did not look excited. She looked cornered. Kara's first instinct was to go on offense. She said I was invading her privacy. She said everyone jokes about proposals. She said I was insecure and blowing harmless comments out of proportion. The tone she used was sharp and dismissive, the same tone she uses when she thinks she can overpower a conversation by talking faster than everyone else. I did not argue with her. I did not match her volume. I simply asked one question. If it was a joke, why did you insist I keep this exact date and invite Aaron specifically? She opened her mouth, then closed it. She pivoted. She said Aaron was just a friend and that she invites him to everything. Aaron shifted uncomfortably and looked at the floor. That reaction said more than anything he could have said out loud. Mia finally spoke up. She said quietly that Kara had told her it would be funny to see me embarrassed in front of everyone. The word funny hung in the air like something sour. A couple of Kara's other friends started whispering to each other. The mood had completely changed. Kara turned on Mia immediately, accusing her of betraying her. That was the moment I felt certain about my decision. Instead of taking responsibility, she looked for someone else to blame. Not once did she say she was sorry. Not once did she say she changed her mind about marrying me. Her focus was on controlling how she looked in front of the group. I stepped back to the center of the room and spoke clearly so there would be no confusion. I said I had planned to propose tonight because I believed we were building something stable. I said I am not perfect, but I do not treat serious commitments as entertainment. I said if she had doubts, we could have discussed them privately like adults. Then I said I will not propose to someone who sees my vulnerability as a performance opportunity. There was no yelling when I said it. No theatrics. Just a statement of fact. Kara's face changed from anger to something closer to panic. She realized the narrative she expected was not happening. There was no moment where she got to laugh and reject me. Instead, she was standing in a room full of people who now understood she had planned to humiliate her boyfriend for attention. And for the first time since I have known her, she had nothing clever to say. The silence stretched longer than I expected. A few people started putting their phones down. Not because they were bored, but because this was no longer a celebration. It was a reckoning. Kara looked around the room like she was trying to calculate who was still on her side. She tried one more angle. She said I was humiliating her on purpose. She said I could have handled this privately. That part was almost convincing until you remembered the original plan involved me on one knee in front of the same audience. I answered that calmly. I said if she had doubts or second thoughts, a private conversation would have been appropriate. I said what I overheard was not doubt. It was planning a spectacle. And if she wanted an audience for that, then transparency in front of that same audience was fair. Aaron finally spoke, which surprised me. He said he did not realize it was that serious. He claimed he thought she was exaggerating. He avoided eye contact with both of us. I did not engage him. He was not the core issue. Kara's composure cracked then. Her eyes filled up, and she accused me of setting her up. She said I went through her messages to find something to weaponize. I corrected her once. I said I did not search for something to hurt you. I confirmed something you were already proud enough to tell other people. That landed. Because it was accurate. A couple of her friends quietly gathered their things. Not in a dramatic walkout way, just in a way that signaled discomfort. Mia came over to me and said she was sorry. I told her she did not owe me anything. She had not orchestrated this. I closed my laptop. I did not drag it out. I said clearly that there would be no proposal tonight. I said I would be ending the relationship effective immediately. I also said I would expect her key to my apartment returned by tomorrow and that I would coordinate picking up any of her remaining belongings at a neutral time. No insults. No raised voice. Just logistics. Kara started crying fully then. Not loud sobbing, but the kind that comes when someone realizes control is gone. She asked if I was really throwing away 2 years over a joke. I told her I was ending it over intentional disrespect, not humor. Then I stepped away from the center of the room and let the evening dissolve on its own. I did not stay to argue. Once it was clear the relationship was over, there was nothing productive left to say. I thanked the brewery manager, settled the bill for the room, and left. A few of my friends followed me outside to check in. I told them I was fine and that I appreciated them coming. I did not need a group debrief in the parking lot. I just needed quiet. On the drive home, Kara called me 3 times. I did not answer while driving. She texted that we needed to talk immediately. I replied once. I said we can talk tomorrow afternoon in a public place to exchange keys and personal items. I kept it structured on purpose. When I got home, I gathered everything of hers that was clearly identifiable. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, a few books. I put them in 2 boxes by the door. I also changed my laptop password and removed her access from my streaming accounts. Not out of spite, just basic boundaries. About an hour later, she showed up at my apartment. She still had her key. She knocked, not aggressively, but insistently. I opened the door halfway and stepped outside into the hallway so she would not walk in. She looked different, less composed, mascara smudged, voice shaky. She said I blindsided her. I reminded her that I overheard her planning to humiliate me days earlier. That is not a blindside. That is a reaction. She tried another tactic. She said she panicked because she felt pressured about marriage and handled it badly. That was the first semi-reasonable statement she had made all night. I acknowledged that fear is normal. I said public humiliation is not. She asked if we could just cancel the engagement idea and keep dating. That was the clearest moment for me. If she could casually downgrade something that's serious without addressing the disrespect, then we were not aligned on fundamentals. I told her no. I said I need a partner who protects me in rooms I'm not in, not someone who turns me into content. She started crying again, this time quieter. I handed her the 2 boxes and asked for my key. She hesitated for a second, then placed it in my hand. That was the last time she stood in my hallway as my girlfriend. The next morning, I did not wake up devastated. I woke up clear. There is a difference. I was not mourning a future anymore, because the version of the future I had imagined depended on mutual respect. Once that foundation was gone, there was nothing abstract left to grieve. Kara started texting around 7 a.m. First, it was long paragraphs about how embarrassed she felt. Then it shifted to anger. She said I made her look manipulative. She said I could have talked to her privately and spared her reputation. I read every message once. I did not respond. Around 9 a.m. she called. I let it go to voicemail. She left 2 messages. In the first, she sounded tearful and said she loved me and had just been scared. In the second, she sounded irritated and said I was overreacting and punishing her. That back and forth confirmed what I already understood. The narrative kept changing depending on what she thought would get a response. It was not about accountability. It was about regaining control. By noon, I made a decision that I probably should have made months earlier when smaller red flags showed up. I blocked her number. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, and any platform where she could contact me directly. Not as a dramatic gesture. As a boundary. I also sent one final email before blocking her there too. It was short and factual. I said I do not wish you harm. I do not wish you humiliation. But I will not stay connected to someone who planned to publicly degrade me. I asked her not to contact me further. After that, I removed her from the emergency contact form at work and updated my lease file to reflect that she no longer had authorized access. Again, not revenge. Just cleanup. She tried to reach out through a mutual friend that evening. The friend texted me saying Kara wanted closure. I replied once. I said closure happened at the brewery. There is nothing left to clarify. Since then, my phone has been quiet. And the silence feels stable, not lonely. Which tells me I made the right call. It has been 3 weeks since the brewery night. I am back to my normal routine. Work during the day, gym in the evening, groceries on Sunday. The difference now is that my space actually feels like mine again. No tension. No low-grade competition over nothing. Just quiet. A few mutual friends reached out individually. Most of them were not aware of what Kara had planned. They told me they were uncomfortable when everything unfolded, but respected how I handled it. I did not fish for validation. I just listened. What mattered to me was that the truth was visible without me having to exaggerate anything. I heard through someone else that Kara has been telling a revised version of the story. In her version, she was joking and I overreacted publicly to hurt her. That is predictable. I am not chasing down every retelling to defend myself. The people who were in that room saw what happened. That is enough. The biggest shift for me has been internal. I realized I ignored smaller signs because they did not cross a hard line yet. The competitiveness, the way she would tease me in front of others, and then say I was too sensitive if I pushed back. I always corrected it in the moment, but I did not step back and evaluate the pattern. The proposal situation forced clarity. Once I heard her describe my vulnerability as entertainment, the decision was straightforward. I did not need to argue for weeks. I did not need couples therapy to unpack basic respect. I needed to leave. Blocking her was not about anger. It was about preventing the cycle from restarting. No late-night apologies. No dramatic reconciliation attempts. No slow erosion of the boundary I set. If there is anything I would tell someone in a similar situation, it is this. Pay attention to how your partner talks about you when they think you are not listening. That is usually the most honest version. I was ready to get on one knee that night. Instead, I stood up for myself. And the only person who ended up crying was the one who thought it would be funny to watch me do it.
Mitigate risk for the commander. And so that really, exploded at that point. And between that and human intelligence, which is kind of the actual gathering of intelligence from other people, you would call it spy or, James Bond, but James Bond was a horrible spy.
Was he?
I mean, yeah, your job's to remain anonymous, and you're walking into a casino and there's Goldfinger calling you by your first and last name. It's not a great look. Generally you don't want to be sleeping with your sources or, using your real name or whatever. So human intelligence. And then my focus for the last 10 years was how does signals intelligence, computer network operations, become a force multiplier for people conducting overt and clandestine operations throughout the theater at that time. My deployments and my time was spent in Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, Northern Africa. And then a lot of people don't know it, but we were in active combat operations in the southern Philippines as well for a fair amount of time. I want to maybe say 7 or 10 years. We were doing combat operations.
When was this?
In the southern Philippines. My first deployment to the southern Philippines was 2007.
Who were we doing operations against?
So there were terrorist elements down there that were traveling back and forth from Pakistan and Afghanistan. And there was a terrorist organization down there called the Abu Sayyaf group. And there were other ones as well. Jamaah Islamiyah, I think was the name of the other one. And they were conducting their own terrorist anti-Christian operations in the southern part of the Philippines. In the southern part of the Philippines, can I say it? Can I say the word?
What do you mean?
Jamie, can you pull up a map of the Philippines? Can you pull it up?
Oh, say that?
I
say that term? That. Yeah, pull it up, Jamie.
Been listening to it forever. So there's what's called the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao, which is the southern part from like a place called Zamboanga down to Hulu or Holo Island. And it's a funny joke because if you zoom into Zamboanga, which is...
God, look how many islands
I know.
Go
down to the south there. See go down right there, right, zoom right there on that island. Now move to the southwest. You see that penis?
Mm-hmm.
At the tip of that penis is called Zamboanga.
Mm-hmm.
All of our combat operations, now if you zoom out a little bit more and pan more south and zoom out just a little bit more so the joke hits, all that sperm south of the tip of the Zamboanga city, there are terrorist operations in here. Now if you go to that main island called Sulu, there's Holo Island, that's where I was, on this tiny island out in the middle of nowhere, and on that there's a mountain.
That's all the Philippines?
Well, no, I mean, this is all the Philippines down here, yeah.
Wow.
So this is there's a mountain in there, I think it was called Mount Tumatok or something like that, on the eastern part of the island called Luke. It's called Luke. Yeah, so there's mountains, there's a mountainous region there. There are a bunch of terrorists up there. They were killing people in the area, conducting bombings. They were getting trained. In fact, there was a guy, and I believe, I'm going to get his name wrong perhaps, but I believe his name, it was either Insalon Haplon or, it's Jamal Patek. He was actually arrested outside of Osama bin Laden's compound the day after he was killed. We were trying to kill him on that island, or in and around that island is where we were trying to find him and kill him. So they're terrorist facilitators. They did the USS Cole bombing.
Zoom back out. I want to see the Philippines one more time, like all the islands. When you zoom all the way out, it's so nuts how many islands there are.
Yeah, so up north in Manila is mostly the Christian population, and as you get down south, it's the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao. And that is all of where these terrorist operations were happening. And I believe that mostly pulled out of there. There might be still some people in Zamboanga. I'm not sure anymore because it's been 4 years since I retired. But yeah, we were doing counterinsurgency operations down there, and guys died down there, and there were combat operations. And I was out there. I was in a tactical military intelligence battalion, and I was attached to the 1st Special Forces Group. And we were down there a couple of times, and a lot of people don't even know about it. So
yeah, I never heard about it.
yeah. So anyway.
I'm sorry.
No,
it's
no,
a sidebar,
no.
but I'm so stunned at how many islands are in the Philippines, how spread out it is.
Yeah, it's insane. And the thing about it is I'd go to all of these little outposts and these out islands. We were always debriefing these guys, and I'm going to get these terms wrong, so I'm sure there'll be people in the comments. But I think they're called bongarais or something like that. But they were like these mayors of each one of these little islands. And there'd be terrorists in and around those areas, and we'd try to make friends with these guys so they'd give us some information. And every one of those places was absolutely beautiful. Like you'd go there and be like, man, Hilton could turn this into something in a short order.
Right.
You know, when you're out of these places, beautiful beach, beautiful lush jungles, the best swimming water.
Nicest people too.
Oh, the Filipino
so
people
cool.
are some of my favorite people, man. Like you want to talk, the guys that we worked with out there, they're I think they're called Scout Sniper, Scout Rangers. And they were I think they were like their special forces. We go to the range with these guys and show them stuff. And they're the most ride or die type of guys you'll ever meet in your life. Like, you know, so-and-so said this about you last week and I could kill him. It's like, no, dude, it's cool. It's like, don't worry about it. Like,
Fun fact, they're some of the best pool players on earth too.
oh, really?
Some of the greatest pool players of all time came out of the
They're
Philippines.
just great people. I mean, the people down there were fantastic. And it was awful because those guys would be bombing churches, Christian churches and stuff like that. And they're doing counter intelligence operations out there, doing intelligence operations collection to inform that battle picture. But those guys had direct links with Osama bin Laden and other people.
I had no idea.
Yeah, right after like I said, I think if you look it up, I think his name is Patek, Patek, and he was arrested outside of Osama bin Laden's compound, and we had been chasing him in the Philippines.
Wow.
Because we thought he was still down there. There was another guy that I believe we killed him. His name was Albader Parad. But yeah, my job was not, I always say this on podcasts because the veteran community is wild right now. They love to cut each other down right now. There's something weird going on where, like obviously lying, call the people out. I prefer to call people out face to face. But I always make sure people know I was not a cool guy. Like sometimes I got to dress like one, you know, for a few years I didn't wear any uniforms and I got to grow my beard out and act like a cool guy. But I was really a nerd for cool guys. I've literally got pictures of myself down in the holo or in Afghanistan or anywhere else and tape around my glasses and, you know, Pez dispenser and my radio and collection equipment looking like a true blue American nerd. But I was not the guy who kicked the door in. I was always the guy who pointed the door out. So I'd be safe in the Humvee in the back, you know, eating an MRE, and somebody that looked like another gorilla, you know, like a Andy Stump or Tim Kennedy or someone like that. I'd be like, is that the house? I'd be like, pretty sure that's the house. You guys might want to be safe, but go ahead. I'll be in the Humvee. I'll be out here, or I'll be in an airplane above, you know. Yeah, it was being born in North Dakota and you know, my mother, single mother, after she left that first guy, trailer house in the middle of this little town called Cavalier, North Dakota. I had no options. I was a horrible student. And
That's crazy that you're so smart, but you were a horrible student.
I'd call myself curious before I'd call myself smart. But, you know, my mother, you know, I don't know if you would remember this, but maybe other people my age, you know, you get these scholastic book order forms that you'd bring home from school and you could order books. Mm-hmm. There'd always be on the back page, there'd always be like little cool stuff. Like you could get like, you know, a pair of gloves or a hat or something. Anyway, one time there was a coil radio that you could order with an earpiece, and you put this coil radio together and with an earpiece, no battery. It was just the electromagnetic radiation would activate the coil, and the coil you could listen to radio chatter.
Really? With no battery?
Yeah, just tiny little radio.
What was the power?
The electromagnetic radiation, and you would just kind of like a record, like, you know how you hit a record. Electromagnetic radiation would hit the coil, and the coil would feed up to an amplifier or up to an earpiece, and the earpiece you could hear chatter, and you could
Did the earpiece have a battery?
Nothing. I don't think anything had a battery on it. I think it was just a.
Wow.
I could be mistaken, but I don't believe it was.
Powered by electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, I mean, you can look it up, Jamie, if you want. Sorry to say that again, but
tighten that thing down. That thing's driving me crazy.
Yeah, sorry.
This thing,
like here or here?
Right here. Look at my finger. Yeah, I've been meaning to do that, like literally when everybody uses this fucking thing. It's wobbling around, ready to fall off.
Yeah, but if you look up coil radio with small earpiece, I could be wrong. I don't remember there being a battery on it.
Electromagnetic radiation powered it. That's bananas.
Yeah, so kind of like same thing with like, not at the same wattage, but a microwave, right? Sends power through the air.
Right, but it uses
DC.
But it uses power in order to send it.
Yeah, but I could be wrong. But at any rate, that was the first time I got a radio, and I was hearing things, and I'd put it together, and I'm listening to things. And
what kind of things?
HF radio, VHF radio, people talking, that type of stuff. And it was just, and then I found out how to get an antenna to make the antenna larger, and started ordering auxiliary pieces for it. And then really changed me was my mother let me get my mother and I would clean houses. She was a waitress, but we also would go around and clean houses. And there was a lawyer that we worked for. His name was Phil Culp. And he had an old 286SX IBM. And it was just sitting in his basement. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, if I clean him for like a month, can I have that computer? Like, he doesn't use it. He's got a new 486 up in his place here. And he instantly said I could have it. And then that started me down the computer networking realm and like, look, how could I get this 286 to act like a 386? Or how could I force it to run Windows? Or how do I update the memory? How do I do these things? In this little town, Edinburgh, North Dakota, there was a guy who had a computer store in a basement of an old general store. And his name was Jeff Munsabrotten. And I would go there and ask him questions about computers and just start learning like ins and outs on how do I update the RAM? How do I get memory better? How do I augment the storage? How could I force this thing to run Windows 3.1 so I could have a GUI instead of using a command line?
GUI meaning graphic user interface.
Graphic user interface,
for
yeah. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
And so that kind of started me on that. And that, for me, like I said, I had all kinds of problems with attention deficit disorder and not being able to pay attention. That was the only time I would go for 3 days.
I don't believe in ADHD. I might be wrong.
No.
I think it's a superpower.
I mean, it's certainly, I remember I would spend 2 days working on a problem and not sleeping.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's a superpower. I think it just keeps you from being interested in things you're not interested in.
Yeah, I have a theory on that too that I can get into after, but that started me down that road. But in school, I couldn't pay attention.
Me neither.
There was this teacher. I always tell this story. It's a great teacher. She's still around. Her name is Connie Trenbeth. And she was my English teacher or literature teacher or something like that. She might not even remember the story, but here I am telling it on your podcast. I remember it. She kept me after class once and she goes, I knew your dad, Bill. And, your uncles were all smart. And my great uncle has an engineering wing of a school named after him out in western North Dakota. And she goes, all these guys were thinkers and your dad did all this great stuff and built all this stuff. And essentially what she was telling me is you're a waste of life. like all you do is you come in here, you disrupt the class, you upset people, no one can talk.
Sounds like me.
You're trying to dominate every conversation. But when, you had written one paper on something that interested you, and I don't remember what it was. And she's like,